Hey guys, it's Drew1212, and today I am going to look through the new Team Fortress 2 blog post updates. Seems like Valve is working on the new update, and I'm just going to see what weapon changes there are. I'm going to look through them, and I'm going to get my opinion out there. First here we have the Panic Attack. Valve says it's one of their least used weapons, which is pretty much right. I've probably used the Panic Attack once, maybe. Alright, let's see. They want to make it usable more, and the new design will have 50% faster switch speed, more pellets, less damage, different shot pattern, and the shot pattern grows with successive shots. Okay. So, I think that is a pretty justified change to get more people to use the Panic Attack. It's pretty justified. Alright, next. This looks like something big. The Spy is getting nerfed in this next update. We've got the Ambassador here, which a lot of people use this gun because of its cheap headshots and stuff. Valve wants to reduce, it says here, reduce the effective combat range to something more reasonable and expected with the Spy. They don't want him to be sort of a sniper sort of thing. I understand that. Let's read. Okay, first shots are no longer accurate, apparently. Wow. So you can't just disguise and then hit someone with a headshot. It's not going to be a headshot. Bullet spread is instead reduced by 50%. That seems like a good trade-off for the Ambassador. I'll take it. Ooh. Next here we have the Dead Ringer. Alright. Let's see. They like Feign Death, but they want to make it less powerful. They want to make it more predictable. So the change is that ammo kits and dispensers no longer refill the Spy's cloak meter with the Dead Ringer. When I first started picking up Spy, I used the Dead Ringer a lot. And knowing that ammo kits and dispensers won't refill it, I'm actually glad with that, because it's going to aid the Dead Ringer's intended play style to have it more like, you gotta have patience with Spy. That's the main point of playing Spy. I think that's good. Okay, now we got the Your Eternal Reward. Biggest change, they removed the cannot disguise penalty, which I was like, hey, that's pretty good. But then they added a non-kill disguise requires a full cloak meter. Okay, so they removed the disguise, but they got a full cloak meter. Seems like the Your Eternal Reward's getting a big overhaul. Alright, let's move to the Scout. Oh my gosh, they're changing the Sandman a lot. One of the most popular bats, the melee weapons that Scout players use. It's been fairly consistent. Players really don't like using the ability to fight back. They're changing so that the long-range ball impacts no longer remove the victim's ability to fire their weapon, but the victim is still slowed. So that means people aren't going to be stunned anymore. They can fire their weapons. So that means the skilled players who know how to maneuver around while they're stunned and they can still fire, they can survive a Sandman hit. So they can't really do like a guillotine, force of nature combo. Alright, next, max range balls now do 50% increased damage. That's a good trade-off for the stun nerf. The flight time required to trigger the max effect has been reduced by 20%. Another good trade-off. And the ball regeneration time has been reduced. So it seems like we're getting stats improved to the Sandman for this trade-off of the stun ability being changed. That's pretty good. Alright, moving on to the Bonk Atomic Punch. They're changing it by, let's see. Apply a slow effect to the player after phasing wears off, based on the amount of damage they absorbed. So now the bonk lasts 5 seconds, and from minus 25% at low damage to minus 65% at 200 plus damage. Seems like a good trade-off. Alright, next Scout pistol is the Pretty Boy's Pocket Pistol. Now this is one of the most hated, useless weapons in the Scout's arsenal. I was really looking for it to get buffed, because hey, it seems like it has some potential. Like, I usually use the Criticola, but I sometimes want to switch off to this, but it's pretty bad. So I'm glad they're buffing it. They're going to add a 15% firing speed buff, and up 7 HP per hit from 5 HP, which is, hey, it's pretty good. But they're nerfing the clip size, which if I've got a good aim, which I do with the scout pistols, I think this will be pretty good. I'm glad the PBPP is getting buffed, and I'm excited. Alright. Next is my most used scout secondary, the Criticola. The stats are mainly kind of the same, they're just changing it a bit. They're adding each attack, so you drink the Criticola. Each attack while it's active adds a marked for death debuff for 5 seconds, and keep in mind these don't stack. So it's adding more penalty for using it. It'll still be viable, kind of. And they removed the move scene bonus, and they removed the 10% damage taken penalty. I can see how they're trying to balance it out, but I don't know. I'm skeptical. Another scout weapon getting changed is the Atomizer. They say the triple jump as passive effect is just too strong. It makes the combat against the scout unpredictable. I don't see many people using the Atomizer, but okay, if Valve wants to nerf it, I'll take it. The changes they're making is the triple jump is now only possible while the bat is deployed, which is, hey, I'd say that's a pretty good idea. They removed the self-inflicted damage when triple jumping. That's good. I always hated the self-inflicting damage. They removed the attack speed penalty. Okay, good. They added melee attacks while done airborne mini crit. Alright, these past 4 things have been really big buffs. They added a 50% deploy time penalty. There's the nerf. And they reduced the damage penalty versus players to minus 50% from 20%. They've got a bunch of buffs, but they're putting in some nerfs in there to justify it to a balanced weapon. Flying Guillotine. I'm pretty sure this is the last scout weapon getting a change. It's pretty similar. People use it with the Sandman combo and the Force of Nature. Popular loadout. Let's see what changes it has. They removed the crit versus stunned players. They removed mini crits at long range. And they added a long-range hit reduce recharge by 1.5 seconds. I think these changes are pretty justified. Crits versus stunned players? If they're already stunned with the Sandman... Actually, will that stack with the Sandman? I don't really know. They have mini crits at long range. Aiming with the Flying Guillotine is really hard, so that supports good players who use it, who take the time to learn how to practice with it. They get the mini crits at long range, then they go in for the kill. Alright, moving on to Soldier, the base jumper. This is the parachute everybody likes to use while market gardening. Let's see. The changes are reduced amount of air control while deployed by 50% and remove the ability to redeploy. Oh my gosh, wow, until the player lands on the ground again. Looks like the base jumper is getting a nerf. I don't know if I support that, but we'll see. Alright, next. The Man Treads, the second least used item in the game. Wow. They look like they're going to buff this. 75 plus 75% push force reduction now includes Air Blast. So they're going to buff the push force reduction. So not many things can push you away, so you can get a good landing with the Man Treads. And they added 200% air control when blast jumping. This thing's getting buffed, but I still don't think it'll surpass the gunboats in usage. Alright, next class, moving on to Sniper. Darwin's Danger Shield is getting a major overhaul. They're changing the whole bullet vulnerability thing to more of a pyro vulnerability thing. They're making the Sniper and the Pyro have more of a better role against each other. Its new design is counter-ranged burn attacks, for example flares, and strengthen melee fights versus pyros. Looks like Darwin's Danger Shield is a pro-pyro defense loadout. I honestly like the current one, the bullet resistance, but I guess it's too overpowered, so they're changing. Alright, next is the Razorback for Sniper. They want to reduce the effectiveness of pocketed snipers and stalemates and standoffs. They added minus 100 overheal. No more overheal for Razorback snipers, wow. And the shield regenerates after 30 seconds. Seems like a justified penalty. I completely support this. I think it's good. Moving on to the Medic, the Vitasaw. Overcharge on death is too valuable of an effect to be passive. They're adding a new concept here, added organs collecting concept. So if you hit one person with the Vitasaw, you get an organ, and the more of them you preserve, the bigger your Uber charge is once you respawn. This is a good way of making the Vitasol less overpowered. Pretty good. Oh ho ho, look at this. They are changing the Crusader's crossbow, one of, if not the most used medic weapon in the game. Alright, let's see. Changes. Ubercharge gain rate reduced by the same way that the medigun's healing and therefore Ubercharge build rate is, based off the last time the target was in combat. Looks like they're reducing the healing rate of the Crusader's crossbow so more people can use their medigun to heal. I agree, it's a little bit overpowered, so this nerf is justified. Moving on to the heavy. They're changing every single minigun for the heavy. Heavy needs this. I mean, during the thing last summer, the battle versus the heavy versus the Pyro won, but looks like they still are listening to the fans saying that heavy needs a buff. They're changing the damage penalty, the 1 second of damage and accuracy penalty now applies to the first second of spin up time, and it'll be removed after the 1 second of firing. So once you start spinning up your minigun, you'll be a little vulnerable, but after, it'll be pretty justified. Oh, looks like they're changing the gloves of running urgently. This is like probably the most used TF2 melee out there. So they added, this is a weird concept they're doing here. Added max health is drained while item is active and regenerated while holstered. I have been looking at this before and it's pretty interesting. I don't know how this thing's gonna play out. If you have a pocket medic while you're running, it might work out, but if you don't, which in most pubs you don't usually have a pocket medic. So this thing's getting an overhaul, changing on the settings of the weapon. Pretty cool. Oh, they removed the Mark for Death effect while active, and they removed the 25% damage penalty. That is a pretty convincing buff. That's a pretty convincing buff. Alright, next weapon is the Eviction Notice. Changes. Added max health is drained while item is active, and they removed the 20% damage vulnerability. This seems pretty good. I mean, I think the draining is less, it provides less of a penalty than a 20% damage vulnerability, because you're up close. So I think this nerf is justified, and I might see myself be using the Eviction Notice way more. Next is the Fists of Steel. They changed, added 40% overheal reduction while active, and added 40% healing rate penalty while active. Okay. Last is the Engineer. They changed the Rescue Ranger. They changed the Metal Repair. Alright, so these updates look pretty promising. I'm excited to see what happens. And I'm waiting for this update to come out. Can't wait. I just dance in the street.